Howdy, everyone. Matt here. I got a question for you. Do you think we as medical professionals should question any kind of methodology with all their claims that they put out, or that we just have to believe everything that they say? Let's talk about it. All right, everyone. First and foremost, let me introduce myself. My name is Matt. I am Matt the PT, coming at you with another video on another topic of something in the physical therapy world. This one, I want to talk about this group because there's been some back and forth between individuals in rehab, strength conditioning, and this very fringe group of individuals, and just kind of going back and forth about their methodology, their claims, and all of that. Now, I had spoke about this group previously in the exercise programming video I did back. If you want to check that out, you can check that out in the video section here. But what has come about in this little back and forth is that people are just going after their methodologies. And I think this group has really just needed some attention here. And they're very well known for just blocking people. So anytime that you've ever asked a question, I got blocked long ago by many of them because it would just pop up, ask a question about it, or like, hey, what is this or what does that mean? And just, they argue with it and then they just block you. And then they just whatever. But I think they just really needed just some engagement here lately. So they just said, hey, let's start picking some fights and we'll just stir up this big thing. And then we'll just go about with whatever. And I don't like jumping in on it because this group, and I don't want to mention the group because, as I may have mentioned before, if they ever find anything, because they scour the internet, it seems like all the time. And if they find something that is not overwhelmingly positive and giving them just an amazing review, they just attack it. So, you may figure out who it is, you may not. But anyway, so they just be going back and forth. And I saw through the comments, just reading through, because it just kind of gets entertaining. I saw this comment right here, and I'll read it to you. It's incredible how a group of professionals who are only looking at things from the outside can come together against a system that helps people. This is impressive. I try, but I can't get used to it. You therapists, movement professionals should be the first to celebrate all of this, but you do exactly the opposite. You reject it even when the evidence of the methodological success is right under your noses. How frightening is that? And I didn't share anybody's information with that because I just don't want anybody going just to, bash or anything. But this brings about a very good point of something that is kind of getting dismissed on one side, and it's actually the right thing. That it is, as a professional, again, the movement professionals, the movement specialists that know all of this, to say that something is incorrect or to question it, that they're saying is wrong. And it really looks like what they're trying to do is just shame people. And I'm just going to be honest. A lot of this, that back and forth is, they're not going to change many of our minds because we're looking at this in one way. They are looking at it from their side. They're not going to change their minds. It's people from the outside that are seeing this, that don't have a knowledge of either group, who are looking in on this. And that's who really a lot of this is. But it really seems like this comment is just one to try to shame therapists or like the movement specialist, shame them, to say, you're bad. You're a bad professional. You're not doing the right thing because here is some, methodology that has these amazing results. And that's what they show. They show results, outcomes, and they say, it shows all of this. You just don't want to accept it. You don't believe that this is the best for you. Don't want the best for your patients, and you want to shut us down. So there's a little conspiracy theory type stuff in there. But the thing is, as a therapist, as a medical professional, as somebody who understands a lot about rehab, some with strength and conditioning, all this, we're doing the right thing. And people don't seem to understand that. We're doing the right thing by questioning it. Why are you, or why are you doing this? What is the reason behind this? Looking at all of these, that is what we're doing. We're doing the right thing by asking these questions, and they just don't like it. If you're a professional, you probably understand the why. And if you're not, and you're sharing this with somebody, you probably may want to know why. And the thing is like, you really want to understand, is this true or not? Now, I'm going to say with this group, I'm going to use a few examples of things that I have just seen through my own experience. But this group likes to use pictures, just a before and after picture. And they just say, oh, look how great this is. Look at these pictures. And here's what the person's testimony is, to say, oh, I had all this pain and now it's all gone. And the first time I ever saw this years ago, I had flashbacks back to when I was a personal trainer so many years ago, and they were in the mid 2000s, and would see these companies that would come out with these like weight loss supplements of some sort. I mean, there have been so many. And one of the biggest things that they would show would just be before and after pictures. And this was the day before the internet was so prevalent and is easily accessible. But it would just be like print things, and it would be just, here's the before, here's the after. They lost 20 pounds, and this time, just look at this. And they would show that the person's body had changed. And then they would put, testimonials in there. Oh, I went from having this terrible back pain. I couldn't do this. Now I have more energy than ever, and I'm doing this and I'm doing it. And that's what they were doing. And I'm going to tell you, I have seen it time and time again. It was just over and over and over. And it was just like, oh my gosh, they're doing these same things over and over again. And you would see it would trick people into doing it. And I've known people who fell for those things, who got into it, who would say like, oh, well, I'm just going to sign up and I'm going to do this stuff right here. And come to find out, they would do it and they wouldn't get any results. Nothing would happen. They would do what they were told. Oh, drink this, this powder 3 times a day, and you do this, and you would see that they may say, well, I got more energy and I can just do this. Well, how much of that is placebo? This thing of saying like, okay, you're mixing this powder is supposed to give you energy, and all of a sudden you're saying, I got all this energy now. Okay, how much of that is just a placebo effect on it? And then you would see, 3 months, 6 months, a year down the line, they're doing it, and there's really like not a lot of change in it. And they would fall off. And it's like, well, how is this different? Like truly, honestly, how is that different? Because like I said, I've seen that for so long, and you're seemingly doing the same thing. What do what's the background of that? Another example, look at these alpha male guys, the ones that sell the coaching. We're selling a coaching course to teach you how to coach, and you'll be able to coach coaches who can coach more coaches to be able to coach. And they're doing that. And they make some of the wildest claims. Oh, we've got people making $20,000 every week. We have 16-year-olds making $100,000. We have so many millionaires. They're just making these things up. And you would see that if that was true, if their coaching courses or whatnot were actually working and people were making that kind of money, wouldn't everybody go into it? And wouldn't everybody be trying to do those things? If you have a good bit of healthy skepticism about things, hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. Back to the video. And so as a professional looking in on that to see some methodology or something that is making these promises and just showing you a testimonial of just saying, well, this person says that they feel better. And really, I would tell you, and I would say that many of you who are therapists or, strength and conditioning coaches, you have an understanding of how people move and look, and like how people, they stand in these pictures don't look natural. It looks like in so many of the before, they're like overly slouched with it, and I have seen more lateral shifts in their pictures than I have ever seen. And I do utilize MDT. I don't see that many lateral shifts, and even with all my colleagues, we don't see that many actual lateral shifts as this group tends to get. And then the afterwards, they're like, that doesn't look like you're natural. You look like you're trying to hold some position that's just, again, not really natural. And so it's like, okay, that's putting some doubt in my mind. So what's the next thing that we would do? Okay, so what's the science behind this? What is actually the research behind that? And I'm gonna tell you, they hate that. They absolutely hate it. And anytime, and that was one of the first things I had ever said to this group those years. What is the actual research or science behind that? And they lose it whenever that you bring that up. They just don't want to get into it. And I have said this for the longest time, is that what that research would do is not dismiss what you do. And I think that's what so many of them believe, that they say, oh, if we do research, that's just going to make our method look bad. And I think that's what so many of them believe, is like, oh, if we do research, it's just to diminish what we do. But no, research strengthens what you do. You find where the flaws are. You find where groups, this is not working for this group. Do we need to change something with them? So then that helps our methodology. I'll tell you, MDT does it. MDT looks at things and tries to say, hey, okay, what are we missing on? What do we need to improve on? What do we need to add to? And that's one thing that people have actually praised it for, saying it's been very critical of itself. But that's what research can do. Where are our faults? How can we justify this? This group has a response to say, like, well, what's the research going to do? What is that actually going to do? And again, outside of saying, it can help strengthen your methodology, it's overall to reduce bias. That was one of the first things that we learned in PT school in our research class, is that when you do research, you want to lower the bias as much as possible. If you can take out as much bias as possible, that strengthens what you do or what the outcomes are, because you've just lowered that so much. And I can really see with using a methodology, if you're just taking a person and saying, this thing is going to work for you and this thing's going to work, it's going to work, you can get that person believing. And no matter what goes on, they will say, well, it worked. Well, it's worked. And it's like, no, it may not. I just had someone that I talked to with on TikTok was talking about how, the conversation was that people often just go in and just believe whatever they want to believe. That's what they are. And they said, a good friend of mine quit taking their meds, went to a physician, and just didn't want to listen to what the physician was saying. The physician was telling them to have lifestyle modifications. It's like, hey, you need to be on these like certain meds to help control these chronic, disorders. And the person goes, no, I'm going to go to this chiropractor. And they said, this chiropractor paralyzed them. And they said, this person cannot move. But they blame not the chiropractor, because they believe everything that they've been told there. Despite the negative aspects that have happened, they blame the physician that they saw one time who was working with them with lifestyle modification, with the things that you are supposed to be doing. So that's really honestly with the research say, hey, what can we do to reduce that bias? And if you do those things and you come out with that research and that you show, oh my gosh, what you were saying is actually true, okay, we're going to utilize this. We're going to celebrate this as something is so, so amazing. And like I said before, I believe the person is just using this comment as a way to try to shame therapists and people that question it. So people on the outsider say, like, look, they don't want to believe this because it's so amazing, because it's just so amazing and it's just going to change everything they do. Honestly, if this methodology was so incredible and so amazing and did all of these things, why would we not use it? Trying to help people and dealing with the state of how healthcare is so hard. And if you're saying that there is a methodology or an approach out there that would make it so much easier, that people got better faster or did any of those things, why would we not use it? because we are so dealing with burnout and frustration and anger and just so much of truly going on in help with just trying to help people. We would accept a method like that to say, if you're getting all this stuff, yes, we would do that. We would. But as I mentioned in the other video, I really think that this methodology works in only some cases. It's very often somebody who feels lost in just out there. They get a community. It builds a sense of community. Hey, they're going to tell them all the things they want to believe and do. That's what many people have said. It just builds upon some very simple principles of things of like, hey, start eating better. Make sure that you're eating, protein, vegetables, eat that. Make sure that you're getting enough sleep. Make sure that you're doing exercise. And really the exercise they're doing is pretty low dose type stuff. It's at a lower intensity. Okay, you're just moving. You're building confidence with doing this stuff. It's not overly amazing things that you're doing. It's just these very simple aspects of things that if many people did, it'd benefit them. However, I do think some of the issues with this methodology is that you very well target one particular group of people. I think it benefits people who are in a much better socioeconomic of a better socioeconomic status. I mean, really think about it. One, you have to have the income to pay for all the courses and the training and all that. You got to have that disposable income to do that. You have to have the income and accessibility to food, the way that you want to eat. You need security of housing security, physical security, so that you be able to get enough rest and recovery and you're literate enough to understand some of the. So it's going to benefit people that would probably benefit from about nearly anything, really and honestly. So in wrapping this up, like I said, for people trying to criticize to say, no, why are you as a professional bad mouthing this thing? No, we're not bad mouthing. We're bringing up the point of saying, hey, let's look into this to make sure that it is true, that it is not something that is just trying to pull a fast one on people. So those companies, those pyramid schemes, they just try to scam people. We're trying to make sure, we just want to make sure this isn't a scam, that it doesn't hurt people, that you're just not going, oh, well, it only is going to work for this very, very small number of people. We want something that helps as many people as possible. That's the thing. We're wanting to know, is this true? And the average person should be asking those questions as well and not be afraid to dig down into something, to understand why are you saying this? Is this actually true? Is this actually going to be beneficial? Digging down and fully understanding it. And I would say to have a healthy bit of skepticism about it. And just not to say oh, they told me this is, I'm just going to 100% believe it onto it. And that's where people run into problems, when they just blindly follow something and just jump all into it and they don't want to ask any questions about it. With that being said, if you enjoyed the video, please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you a copay or anything like that. And of course, I want to hear your thoughts, opinions, beliefs, all that down in the comments below. Please share them there. And until next time, take care of yourself. Take care of your patients. I'll see you then.